Are you thinking about moving to Central Oregon? Are you considering Redmond as your landing spot? If so, then you need to watch this video because today I'm going to go over the 4 cons that I have about living in Redmond, Oregon. Hey y'all, welcome back. I am Amy Bullock, Central Oregon Realtor. I live in Redmond, so I specialize in Redmond, Oregon real estate. I cover all parts of Central Oregon, but Redmond is technically my home, so I call this my baby. Today I'm going to go over my top 4 cons about living in Redmond, Oregon. And keep in mind, just like my pros list, what might be a con to me might not be a con to you. So sit tight. Enjoy the video and let me know what you think. Hopefully I don't scare you off too much with this. In reality, they aren't too bad. So today I'm going to go over my top 4 cons about living in Redmond. Don't get me wrong, I love Redmond, but just like any other city that I've lived in, there are a few things that I don't like about living here. My first con about living in Redmond was something that nobody really talked to me about when we started the idea of moving, and it's the dry climate. Redmond is about 3,000 feet above sea level, and Central Oregon in general is nicknamed the high desert. So with that comes a very dry climate that I was not used to when I moved here, especially moving from Texas, which is extremely humid when compared to here. Here in Central Oregon, we don't get a lot of rain. We're at a high altitude and we've got the mountains nearby. So our climate in general is pretty dry. It truly is a desert climate. I can probably count on both hands the number of rainy days we've had this year so far. We just don't get a lot. I completely thought that we were going to have a moist environment like on the valley side over by Portland and Eugene and Salem and all on the other side of the mountains. Unfortunately, the mountain range catches all that rain and we just get the dry air. The downside with that is if you're not used to a dry climate, you're probably going to walk around and feel like a raisin for the first year that you're here. At least I did. I probably put more lotion on in that first year after we moved than I ever did my entire life. We came from Texas, which is a pretty humid state. So that first year here was like culture shock to my body. There was no humidity whatsoever. And I literally felt like I was shriveling up. It's not that bad. I'm being a little dramatic, but it really was a sign for me to put more lotion on and moisturize more often. So with that being said, my first con about living here is the dry climate. Just make sure you're prepared for the dryness because it can be a little skin irritating at times. The second con that I have is the diversity. I have lived in major cities most of my life, Austin, Portland, and San Antonio, and I'm just used to a melting pot of culture. Unfortunately, here in Redmond, the latest census marked that 90% of the population is white, but with that, time goes by, more and more people are moving in, and I'm confident in time that we will see a mass influx of more culture here. So with that being said, do I wish there was a little more diversity here? Absolutely. Will it happen? I'm sure it will. The third con that I have about living here in Central Oregon in general is smoke season. Now, if you're not familiar with what smoke season is, sit back and let me just go through what exactly it is. Here in Central Oregon, we are surrounded by numerous national forests. We've got the Deschutes National Forest, Willamette Valley National Forest, Hood River, Mount Hood National Forest, the Ochoco National Forest, tons. We've got a lot more. I didn't even name them all. That was just a few of them, which creates a really amazing outdoor recreation life. The downside is our climate is so dry that we also deal with forest fires. Every summer, you can expect to have a fire season. With fire season brings smoke season. What happens here is that all of those smokes from those fires just kind of wander through Central Oregon, and sometimes it's pretty thick and I literally have to wear a mask. Sometimes you can hardly tell. It just looks like a haze in the distance. One thing that I have started to do regularly because of smoke season is looking at the AQI on my watch. What is the AQI? AQI stands for the Air Quality Index. If the AQI is under 100, you're good. If it's over 100, it's typically recommended that you stay inside or wear a mask, or just know that the air quality is going to be pretty hard for anybody with the sensitivity. Smoke season, while it sucks, doesn't last too terribly long. Usually what happens is we'll have a big fire, the winds change, blow the smoke into town. You'll see it when you're driving down the road, and then sometimes you can step outside and it smells like you're camping, like there's a campfire going on somewhere. With that in mind, the wind brings it in and the wind takes it away. So as quickly as the smoke comes, it usually goes just as quickly, especially if we get a good rain. With that in mind, my third con is smoke season. To piggyback off of smoke season, my fourth con is the planes. As much as I absolutely love living next to the Redmond airport, the downside can be the firefighting planes that come in and out of the airport. Redmond is a hub to a lot of planes that spread the fire retardant on these forest fires. And what these planes are doing is they're flying in, they're loading up on retardant, and they're loading up on probably hundreds of thousands of gallons of fire retardant, which makes them heavy. When the planes take off, they aren't as light, so they're flying low and they are loud. So we hear these planes during the summertime pretty regularly. And when you're not used to it and you aren't familiar with it and you don't know about it, it can be a little shocking and scary. I've seen numerous moms panic when they hear the plane or see the plane flying over the parks as low and as loud as they are, but it's completely normal. They are just heading out to fight a fire. And once smoke season ends and we're out of fire season, you don't hear them again. You'll also see these planes numerous times a day. So it's not like one plane every couple hours. Sometimes it could be 3 or 4 planes within 30 or 40 minutes, depending on the fire, the seriousness of the fire, and where the fire is located. The number of planes that fly from the airport can be pretty high or it can be pretty low. It just really depends on the fire itself. So with that in mind, the planes are my next con. They can be really low and really loud. If you're a kid, you probably like seeing them. But if you're an adult and you're not familiar with it, it'll probably freak you out the first time. But hopefully watching this video won't make you freak out and you'll know to expect these planes during the summer. My final con is the wind. And this wasn't something that I planned on talking about. I kind of just remembered this as I was going through my list a second ago. The wind here can get pretty brutal. So it's not something that you ever really think about, but if you're not coming from a windy city, like the wind can get pretty strong at times. I'm a big gardener. I, for some reason, took up gardening when I moved to Central Oregon, and I have learned the hard way that if I'm gonna have a greenhouse, it cannot be a little hinky-dink $70 greenhouse that I found at the store that's made out of plastic and little rods. Your greenhouse has to be solidly built in order to survive the winds that we get here. We get some pretty strong winds. If you sail boats, it's probably going to be great for you if you take your boat out on the water. But when you're in your backyard and you can see a tree starting to blow over because the wind gets so hard, it gets a little concerning. So with that in mind, the wind itself could totally be considered a con if you're not into the wind. But if you have a child and you like to fly kites, the wind is probably going to be your friend. So either way you look at it, the wind is a good thing, the wind is a bad thing. It blows the smoke in, which stinks, but it gets so windy that it blows the smoke out. You've also got some really great kite flying winds almost year round here. So there's no such thing as windy season. It's windy quite a bit all year round here. So the wind is my final con. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, let me know. My contact information is at the bottom of this video. If you're considering a move to Central Oregon or Redmond in particular, feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. I am always available. I love helping people relocate, and I also love answering questions about the area. I hope you're having a great day. Have a good one, y'all.